Construction materials.
Mr. Williamson, this is your sister.
Yes.
Your father passed away recently.
Yes.
What was the date of his passing?
I don't know. I don't know
Just a
exact
second.
date.
The answer is I don't know the
don't
date.
know.
My father passed away. Do you know the date of your father's passing?
May 22nd,
Of what year?
2021.
This is what the case is about. Mr. Williamson, it is your claim that there was a time when you moved in to your father's house.
Yes.
And your mother was still alive?
Yes. My mom had a stroke,
In what year did your mother have a stroke?
2005.
When you moved into the house, had she already been ill?
Yes,
Who was taking care of her?
I was.
No, you weren't living there yet. I said when you moved into the house, had she already had the stroke? You said yes.
Yes.
Who was caring for her before you moved into the house?
My daughter.
Who were you?
I'm the granddaughter of, I'm his daughter.
Okay, stand up. Is what your raised hand suggests to me that you were living with your grandfather?
I was living in a house until 2008 when my aunt moved in.
Okay, so you were actually taking care of your grandmother
Yes,
after she got sick?
yes.
Was your grandfather okay?
He had a heart attack and he was recovering, and then she had a stroke.
Sounds like you had your hands full.
I did.
Did you have any other help?
No, my dad and my other aunts that lived in California at the time, they all came over occasionally to help out and relieve me so I can have some type of life.
Okay. You lived there until what year?
Until 2008.
And continued to help take care of your grandparents?
Yes.
What about this aunt? Did she come to visit?
She moved out here from Atlanta in 2008, 2009.
And is that when she came to live at the house?
Yes, and then that's when I moved out.
And your father was still there?
Yes.
In 2008, your
Yes.
father was still there. What's your first name?
Cheryl.
Cheryl. So Cheryl moved in, you moved out. She sort of assumed whatever duties you were doing with then just your father, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I moved there in 2011.
Oh, well,
Got the dates wrong. Would that be right?
yeah, yes.
Okay, so you were actually there then for quite some time.
I lived in a house since I was 5
Did your mother live in the house?
for a brief moment.
So you were really raised by your grandparents?
Yes.
Now I got it. So you were raised by your grandparents, you always lived there, you didn't move out until 2011.
Yeah.
So their loss was hardest on you.
Yes.
I got it. Now I'm creating a family picture. Okay. Do you know anything about the disagreements that started to exist between your father and your Aunt Cheryl?
No.
You don't know anything?
I only know from the time when I moved back in 2019. That's when everything started to come to a head. I have a daughter, and I didn't want her to be traumatized by any of the family drama.
Very smart. Your grandparents did a very good job.
Thank you.
They did. Good for them, good for you.
Frank Williamson claims his sister Cheryl Williamson threw out his building materials. Cheryl is countersuing for repayment of a loan.
Tell me why you moved back in 2019.
My grandfather ran into a wall, and he was unable to drive and take himself places, so he asked me to come back to help him out, to take him and his friends to the grocery store on the weekends.
At that time, your father was still living there?
No,
What about Aunt Cheryl?
she was there.
What did she do in the house?
She occasionally cooked and occasionally cleaned.
Did you get along with her?
Yes, I did. I actually love all of my aunts.
Good. Okay. Mr. Williamson, I want you to tell me what happened when you decided to move back home.
My father, he told me...
Don't tell me, just a second.
Okay.
Don't tell me what your father told you. I'm cross. Are you cold?
A little bit.
I know it's freezing in here. I like it like a meat locker. Some people get cold. This is your claim. Your claim is that you had discussions with your father, which I'm not going to get into because I can't verify them. And he told you that he wanted you to live in a guest house that he wanted you to build behind the main house. So you bought a lot of tools and lumber. And after your father passed away, your sister got rid of all of that. Did she dispose of the property before or after your father passed away?
Before.
Before.
Before. Miss Williamson, you went back and forth to visit your grandfather?
Well, yes, I live in the back house until the issue started to arise. I have a daughter, and I didn't want her to be traumatized by any of the family drama.
Very smart. Your grandparents did a very good job.
Thank you.
They did. Good for them, good for you. And Miss Williamson, when the property was disposed of, your grandfather and your father was alive.
Right.
He was occupying his own home.
Correct.
Okie dokie. Now, let's talk about your counterclaim. You can have a seat now, Miss Williamson. I'm not going to get you further involved in all this drama.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. You have a counterclaim.
Yeah.
Your counterclaim is for loans that your father allegedly made to your brother during his lifetime.
Yes.
And you are the executor of his estate.
No, I am.
You're the executor of his estate.
No, he's not.
May I see the documents that you have? And I'd also like to see a copy of your dad's will, please. Thank you. Okay, well, this is an old trust, sir.
This is from the recorder's office.
May I see it, please? So this document gives the defendant power of attorney. I just want to know if she could sue on behalf of the state for this alleged loan that her father made for you. So after you were granted the power of attorney, you went to court and changed the living trust.
Yes.
Got it. So let us assume for the moment that your father provided you with a power of attorney to sue on his behalf, and that was in 2020.
Yes.
When did you discover that you believe that your father made a loan to your brother?
My father got a $30,000 loan, and he gave him $15,000. But as I look in this checkbook, he actually gave him $17,000.
Just a second. He took out a $30,000 loan.
Yes.
And he gave half of it to his son.
Right. And
He's
he
so-
said,
Just a second. And he's allowed to do that.
yes, but
When did you find that out?
2019.
And so you knew about that in 2019, that your father had made a gift to your brother.
No.
No, just a second. You said your father gave him
Well-
$15,000. He took out a loan, and he gave him half.
That he
Did
was
your
supposed
father
to pay back.
I'd like to see proof of that.
He didn't have him to sign a promissory
just-
note.
Well, that's a problem. Miss
but
Williamson.
In his check account, it has.
So what? I
Okay,
give my
well-
children money all the time. You know, it's so interesting that your father, who was clearly a lovely man and had a lovely wife, had a good life and accumulated some money and had a house, had 2 children who, after he's gone, are really destroying that good footprint. I don't understand that over some old tools and lumber and something that you cannot prove was a loan to his child.
Well, I only can go by what he told me.
You can't
and
go. I
told-
can't go by what he
well,
told you.
I told my father you shouldn't
just-
have done that.
I don't care what he told you. This house that your father had, just curious, was it sold?
No, I'm living in the home right now.
Okay. And do you intend to stay there?
Yes.
And pursuant to the property settlement, what did your brother, if anything, receive from your father's estate?
He
Just either.
Nothing.
That's a number. That's a number.
0.
Well, it sounds to me like you're living in the house that you didn't live at for a whole time. Where is your niece living?
She doesn't live with me. I don't know where she lives.
Was she living there with her daughter at the time your father passed? That's either a yes or a no.
No.
Well, I moved out this year because I had to call the police because she kept changing the locks on the doors when I come home from work. So every time I would go home, when I try to get in, she'll change the locks.
Got it. I got the story.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I don't care whether it's true or not. You got the house. She'd been living there since she was 5 years old, and she's not living there anymore. She was, in fact, living there until your father died.
No, she was living with her grandmother. My father asked me, how do you think about Yanika moving in? And I want to be nice. I want to say no.
Okay. He raised her. Miss Williamson, your case is dismissed. So is yours,
Okay.
Mr. Williamson. You got a house? Is it in your name now?
Yeah.
Good for you. We're done here.
All right.
Court adjourned.
My grandparents would not want this fighting going on.
We don't get along at all. I don't get along with my niece. I don't get along with him.
I feel that family being here in court for this matter is ridiculous.
I couldn't imagine fighting with any one of my siblings after not one, but both of our parents pass away.
You know, there's a good lesson takeaway. Nobody likes to think about dying, but if adults are smart, no matter how old they are, they should have a document that is clear and unequivocal, that's called a will, that tells their children, their grandchildren, their friends exactly what they want done with their property, so that we don't have siblings in a courtroom like this. And I think that all of that can be avoided if people act smart and create a good will.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Right, Kevin.
Case number 1159, Coley versus Zavala Gray.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're Miss Zavala,
Yes, Your Honor.
and this is your daughter.
Yes, she is.
I'm going to start with you. How do you know the plaintiff?
I had met him. I was having car trouble. My friend rented me an Airbnb because she didn't want to take me home. So he had been renting the same Airbnb, and that's how we met each other.
In what month and year was that?
Approximately June or July of 2020.
2020.
Yes, ma'am.
And at the time, you didn't have a car.
I had a vehicle, but it wasn't operating.
So you didn't have a car. Having a car that's not operating is like not having a car. And were you and Mr. Coley just friends, or did you have a more social relationship?
No, we were just strictly just friends.
Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I assume that you told him about your car trouble.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what did Mr. Coley say to you?
I believe...
Look at me.
Okay, I'm sorry. I believe that he offered to rent a vehicle for me, and...
He said, I'll rent a car for you.
Yes, Your Honor.
It was very nice of him. How were you going to arrange to pay him for that?
Well, I had the money to pay for the rental.
So why would he have to rent it for you?
He gets like discounts and with his AAA, or he had some kind of promotional thing that it was going to be cheap.
What kind of promotional thing that you had that was going to be cheap, Mr. Coley?
No promotions at all. She didn't have credit, and she told me she was going to go rent it. She actually drove down or got a ride to the rental car place, and she called me from the counter and said, "Oh, need a credit card, they won't rent to me, come on down."
Does that sound more familiar?
Yeah, that was correct.
Does that sound more familiar? That
Yes,
you
Your
went
Honor.
there and they wouldn't rent you a car?
Yes, Your Honor. I didn't have a credit card yet.
And in what month was that?
I got like July.
So shortly after you met him.
Yeah, oh yeah, immediately after I met him.
So now you called him from the rental car place. You had just met him and said they won't rent me a car because I have no credit card. And now you're at the rental car place. Where's your daughter?
At the time she was at school, she was still going to high school. She was nowhere.
Okay, so you're by yourself at the rental car place.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then what happened?
Jeff came and
He came to the rental car place.
Yeah, and we were gonna rent a Charger, but something had happened. He didn't have enough money in his bank or something like that. So he said I could use his vehicle. Then we went back to his place. We chit-chatted a little bit, and I believe it was the next day that he called and told me that he was gonna purchase another vehicle if I wanted to buy his car that he had now, which is the Altima I'm currently buying.
So he was going to get another car, and he wanted to know if you wanted to buy his car.
Yeah, he was really excited. He was looking...
Just a second. He wanted to know if you wanted to buy his car, and what did you say?
I said, absolutely, that'd be great. And he said, you know, I know
Just a second. That's not exactly what you say in your answer, but continue. So he said, you want to buy my car? Great. Well, if you want to buy somebody's car, then you usually negotiate a price.
You're correct.
What price do you claim that you negotiated?
I believe it was around 55.
No, not around. When you buy a car, you negotiate a price. Ms. Zavala, how old are you?
40.
When you buy a car, you negotiate a price. Even my 18-year-old grandchild knows that.
Okay.
I like that car. How much is it? I want $4,000. I'll give you $3,000. How about $3,200? How about $37,000? Do you understand? You negotiate a price. You're a big girl. You have a grown-up daughter. So you want to buy my car. This is what you're telling me now. You said that would be great. And what do you do about the cost of the car?
He said he was going to give me time to get a deposit together and sell the car that wasn't working.
Did you come up with a price?
I thought it was $5,500.
What do you mean you thought it was $5,000?
That's what he told me. It's $5,500.
$5,000.
I would be taking over payments.
$5,500. You were taking over payments.
Taking over the rest of his payments.
Just a second. So you knew his car was either leased or bought, and there was a loan on it.
Yeah, I just know that he told me, you're going to pay me payments of this amount of money every month. And I said, no problem. He goes, get as much money you can together for a deposit, for a down payment on the car. And that's what I did. I didn't ask if he was still financing the car. I didn't ask any of those questions. He just gave me an amount of what he wanted every month.
Now, if I believe that part of the story, before you said, if I'm not mistaken, that was $5,500, I believe she used the word, taking over his payments.
I would be taking over his payments.
I would be taking over his payments. Well, when you take over somebody's payments, it means that they owe money. Then you would say, unless you're a real fool, how much do you still owe on the car? You mean you never had that conversation with him?
I don't remember.
Then let's go a little further. So now in July, you have a car, his car.
Yes.
Did you sell your car?
Yes, I did.
What kind of a car was it that you sold?
A 98 Honda Civic.
Who did you sell it to?
A friend of mine's dad.
And how much did you get for it?
I got $700 and I gave him $600.
When did you sell it?
I don't remember the date. I have it in my evidence here, though.
Take a look.
March 2nd.
So March 2nd was the first time you gave him any money on the car. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm sorry. I read it wrong. It actually doesn't say the date here. He's the one that typed this up. It doesn't tell me a date. I believe it was like not even 2 weeks after I had gotten the...
That would be in July.
Yeah, it was still in July.
Well,
yeah.
when did you sell your other car?
Like a week or two after, so in July.
Making it up as she's going along. Let's understand something, sir. Does this face look stupid? You think they kept me around here 25 years, 26 years because I'm stupid? The document that you gave me says amount left to pay, $2,879.
Jeffrey Coley is accusing his former friend, Melissa Zavala, of not completing the payments on a car loan. Melissa says she's already paid more than the car is worth.
Okay, when did you get the $600?
A couple of weeks later. Oh. And I'm showing 540. It was pretty good at nickel and dime.
That's your fault.
Yes.
If that's your fault. You're the seller.
Yes.
I don't know what your end game was, but that's your fault.
I was just
that's your being nice. And well, then if you're being nice and you're burdening me, then I get to be not nice. That you don't keep good records. Nickel here, $5 here, $10 there, and then you expect somebody with several degrees to make chicken salad out of what you've created, Mr. Coley. Do you understand? If you sell somebody your car and you're looking for a different end game, and I don't know what the different end game was, then if you sell somebody your car, you keep records. July 27th, $600. August 5th, $150. Yes, sale price is this much. Payments to be made.
That's
Do you understand?
Exactly what I did. All this paper documents, yes.
Perfect. You had this car and there was a loan on it?
Yes.
Who was the lender?
Westlake Financial.
And how much was left on the car at the time that Miss Zavala started to drive it?
Approximately $4,200 and change.
Let's be clear. How much was left on it? $4,200?
$4,279.
Okay. So first she gave you $600, right?
Correct.
And you have records of each of her payments.
Correct.
So you paid off your note.
No, the note has 22% interest. It's a bank note. I pay interest. So she's taken over payments until the bank note's paid, which is roughly 2 years. She knew it was 2 years. It says so 2 years on the document she signed.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
And
So just a second. I'd like to see the document she signed.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Zavala, did you have insurance, or did he pay
provided insurance.
So,
It was
in
full
addition,
coverage.
just a second. So, the payments that you made to him also included car insurance.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. And this is dated 7/10/2020. Loan principal approximately $4127. You're supposed to make a down payment of $3,000 as agreed, which you didn't make. Monthly payments of $245, lesser forwards payments directly, that's you, to auto lender Westlake from July 20th, approximately 2 years or until the vehicle is paid off. Okay, if Leslie fails for around 45 days, she will surrender the vehicle back, which you did fall behind. You didn't pay the $245 in monthly payments all the time, so he came, took the car back. He took the car once when your daughter was working, which is your counterclaim because it upset her. That's your counterclaim, right?
Yeah, he humiliated her at work.
That's dismissed. Leslie is fully responsible for any damages. That's you. There were little damages. You had a little car accident?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a yes.
Yes.
Where was the damage?
It was on the side of the car, on the passenger side.
Did you have it fixed?
Yeah.
You had it fixed? Okay. Not insurance?
No.
You paid to have it
Yeah.
fixed. So I want to see what's left on the car.
I have the bank or the statement.
Well, then show it to me.
Yes, Your Honor. And here was the one for May. So I have today.
No, I just want,
No,
all I want, you have the car, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. All I want to see is what's due on the car. Well, actually, there's nothing much past due. Your account is past due, amount due $603. But amount left to pay is $2,800, according to this.
It's forecasted with interest.
What is left on the car is $2,800. That would be with interest.
If it went a whole year,
If
yes.
it went a whole year.
But if it was cash today, or for example, it would be only the $22,000 or $2,100.
It would be what?
Whatever the balance says on the statement.
The balance that's left on the statement.
Yes. Oh,
You
it's a tiny box in the middle left, far left, under the payoff progress, it says. It's hard to see.
Amount left to pay $2,879.03.
Okay.
That's what it says is left,
Okay.
right?
Correct.
Okay. You signed this agreement?
May I look at it closer?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, I did sign that.
Very good. So what you agree to do is pay the car out. And if you want the car in your name, who has the title?
I do.
I'd like to see it.
Oh, the bank holds the title.
Yeah, but you have the title the bank with a lien holder.
Correct.
Correct. So that once a payment is made to the bank in the amount of $2,000 to Westlake, $2,879.03 as of November, the car is fully paid off. So you have the title.
No, the
They
car's
have
not
it.
paid off.
No.
I still have 1 year left with Westlake.
No. If the car is paid off today,
Sorry. My apologies.
$2,800, then the car is paid off. Then her contract with
balance.
you is fulfilled.
Partially, Miss Gray crashed the car and it was not fixed.
Just a second. I don't care.
Okay.
What difference does that make? She pays $2,800 today. It's going to be her car.
The car broke, didn't break. It needed maintenance, 100,000-mile car. She said roughly around December that she couldn't afford to do the maintenance. I said, I'll help you out because your daughter was...
Mr. Coley, let's understand something, sir. Does this face look stupid? You think they kept me around here 25 years, 26 years because I'm stupid? The document that you gave me, that you told me to look in the left-hand corner says amount left to pay.
That's correct. We've agreed.
$2,879.
Yes,
So
Your
if
Honor.
the company is paid,
The car is paid,
the
but
car
there's
is
two
paid
loans
for,
on the car. I'm
and then
trying-
her contract with you is fulfilled. She says according to this, approximately 2 years or until the vehicle is paid off.
Correct.
At which time the vehicle title will be transferred to the lessee.
Correct.
Perfect. I just asked you what parts and labor not performed 570.
I'm trying to explain. She refused to go the second day, so the parts I paid for went to waste.
Jeffrey Coley is accusing his former friend, Melissa Zavala, of not completing the payments on a car loan. Melissa says she's already paid more than the car is worth.
She says, according to this, approximately 2 years or until the vehicle is paid off.
Correct.
At which time the vehicle title will be transferred to the lessee.
Correct.
Perfect. I'm entering a judgment for $2,879. The check will be made payable directly to Westlake Finance.
But there's more.
And with a direction to the Department of Motor Vehicles, that the Department of Motor Vehicles is to issue a clean title in the name of Miss Zavala.
But, Your Honor, the damage is not fixed. She lied to you.
What difference does that make to you? $79.03 as of November, with a direction. Her contract with you has been fulfilled according to her contract. You want to read it?
No, I understand, Your Honor. May I speak to the court, please?
About what?
Miss Zavala called me in December and said, I would like to have you do some repairs and pay the car registration and get new tires and change the oil. And I said, whoa, 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 you own the car. It's not right for me to have to pay all your expenses. So she hasn't paid registration since December. The police,
show me that. Show me where that is. Show me where that is in your complaint, sir. Show me where that.
They only give us two lines to fill in the complaint.
Show me where that is. There's not 2 lines. Show me where that is in your complaint.
The original court papers was 2 lines, yes.
Nowhere. The original court papers may have been 2 lines, but this is not 2 lines.
I believe it mentions there's a loan, a repair loan in there, I believe.
Oh, well, just
I don't have it in front of me.
Show me, please. I may not.
Yeah, there's a repair loan on there.
Just show me.
Okay.
Just make a circle. I may have read it. I may have misread it. Just show me where it is.
On my auto loan and vehicle repair loan. Yes, it's at the very, very bottom. Oh. As a result of Melissa's late payments, I incurred fees late on my credit report, and one from yesterday. There's 2 lates now. From a auto loan and a vehicle repair loan that she asked me to repair for her, and it killed my credit score. Let me give you the copy of the, just one more document to go with that. Let's see, here's the repairs. Sorry.
Mr. Coley, I want you to show me a paid bill for repairs on the car. Show me a paid bill for the repairs on the car that first, while it was in Ms. Zavala's possession. A paid repair bill, and then give me back a copy.
Balance due 0. This is paid, Your Honor.
Okay, great. I'd like to take a look at it. Okay, this was in December of 20, total parts and labor not performed, $573. What is that?
What happens, Mrs. Zavala was difficult to work with, so...
Just I want to know what that means. Total parts and labor not performed.
It means it took 2 trips to the auto mechanic. I'd made the first trip. During that trip, I went to Mrs. Zavala's residence, did her a favor, and picked up the car because she was watching a little child and couldn't get away. I dropped my day, what I was doing.
Just a second.
Took her.
I just asked you what parts and labor not performed, $570.
I'm trying to explain. The first day I went, they do half the work. So Zavala meets, the second day, I had to come back second day, so I said, Ms. Zavala, you go the second day. She refused to go the second day. So the parts I paid for went to waste. So...
Listen, sir, I don't know what your thing is. $2,879.03. That is going to be paid directly to Westlake with an order from me that the car is to be put in her name. Goodbye. We're done here.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Court is adjourned.
We love Judge Judy, obviously.
I'm very happy with the judge's decision.
Well, the defendant was slow in paying. She ruined my credit.
I didn't want it to end up like this. I have nothing against him, but I just felt after $7,000, I felt like I was being taken advantage of at that point, and I had to stop.
Well, it was $3,000 in damage.
Actually, I'm not even gonna lie, it wasn't my fault. I was going into the lane and I didn't see the car, so we just glided against each other.
It's not even close to fixed.
So she did get into an accident. She paid to have it fixed with her own money.
I'm a fair guy. I say, look, you're 3 months behind. I'm coming to get the car.
He towed the car. I didn't even know he towed it. He just took it.
We all learn a lot when we do things like this. But, you know, a good deed and then multiple deeds, you know, those don't get counted.
Too much drama.
It seemed to me that there was a sort of different end game that plaintiff was after, doing all those kind things, taking a car that he had already effectively sold to get repairs done and doing favors. And not sure, there's something off.
That's probably true, because if it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. But there's something else there that just is so outrageous. That is when you have an original loan and you take it out and you really don't appreciate the fact that when you pay back that loan, even if it's in a relatively short period of time, you're paying back twice as much.
Sometimes even more.
Yeah. I think that you're probably better off getting a cheaper car, as long as it runs, to get you around, rather than obligating yourself for a high credit loan. I would rather own something and build up my cash so that I could buy something and not have to have a 25% interest loan, even though I know that that's what makes the world go round. It's what keeps people poor, rather than allowing you to move upwardly and forward.
Yeah.
Are you a victim of a scam? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. We have case number 1080, Zellmer versus Neff.
Thanks, Kevin.
Come.
Mr. Zellmer, you're suing Mr. Neff because you claim that as a result of his negligence, your car required thousands of dollars worth of repair.
Yes.
Mr. Neff says that he did work on your car, changed oil, and changed some sort of an O-ring. He said he did all of that work properly. Any subsequent damage to your car is not his responsibility. That's what the case is about, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, great. So tell me, what year, make, and model is this car?
2015 BMW 535i.
And when did you purchase it?
November 2018.
So you purchased it used from whom?
CarMax.
How much did you pay for it?
$30,000.
When you purchased it from CarMax, was there a warranty on the car?
There were 2 warranties. There was remaining time on the BMW manufacturer's warranty.
How much time?
About a year, I believe.
Okay.
And I bought an extended warranty from CarMax also.
For how long?
2 or 3 years.
So then the warranty would have been good until October of 2021.
Under those terms, the fine print, they asserted, and I agreed with them, that this repair was not covered.
I assume you have that warranty with you.
I do not. I have not read that. I have not read that in years.
Well, that's not my problem. And just so that I'm clear, how much did you pay for this extended warranty from CarMax?
I believe $2,500.
Now, you noticed that there was something wrong with the car. In what month and year that brought you to the defendant's mechanic shop?
July 2019.
So about 6 months after you bought it. Certainly well within the warranty period.
Yes.
Certainly a $2,500 warranty lasts for a year. You said 2 or 3. Okay, and the equipment that you put in, other than oil, was an O-ring.
Well, we did the oil and filter, and part of the oil filter is replacing the O-ring also.
Okay, very good. So you began to have trouble in July 2019. You called CarMax.
Not yet.
Who did you call?
The problem that first manifested was small drops of oil in the garage.
I've seen that.
An oil leak, yes. When I knew that I needed service, I contacted CarMax and said, this might need to be fixed also. And they said, take it to our approved repair center, which was Performance Center down the road in Auburn.
That was his?
Correct.
I'm beginning to love this case.
Is that a good thing?
Not for you. And you took the car into him for an oil change because you were going on a trip.
Not imminent, but soon. My wife's birthday, yes.
Well, you began seeing trouble in the beginning of July. When did you first contact the defendant?
I'm sure I made an appointment a couple days before he did the work on July 30th.
So let me understand. You saw leaks of oil in your garage on the 2nd, and you didn't deal with it for a month.
True.
And you picked up the car on what date, Mr. Zellmer?
Probably same day, July 30th. I also asked him to fix the oil leak.
Mr. Neff, did he ask you to fix the oil leak?
Yes, he asked me to take a look at it and see if I could tell what was leaking.
And did you do that?
Yes.
And what was leaking?
There was oil all around where that O-ring sits and running out of it. So it had been installed improperly.
Did you tell him that?
Yes.
Let's go back to you, Mr. Zellmer. What he said to me was that he told you that the previous O-ring had been installed incorrectly, so that was oil.
That's not true. He did not say that. He said what we see on the receipt that he gave me.
And I have it documented right here to be caused by sealed oil filter last time oil change was performed.
May I see it, please?
It's on the second paragraph.
Kevin, would you show this to Mr. Zellmer and tell him if he recalls seeing that?
I'm sure I did.
And whose signature is at the bottom of that?
That looks like mine.
Well, I'm going to read to you the diagnosis, which clearly supports what he says. Find out the source of the oil leak. And he says he told you what that was. It's written in here and signed by you. Diagnosis. Found oil leak to be caused by improper sealed oil filter. Tech cleaned the area off and ran with no current leaks observed. Recommend customer have engine steam cleaned to remove residual oil. So you were told by the defendant there was leakage, and he told you at the time that you should have the engine steam cleaned because there still may have been residual oil from the leak. Okay, now that's on the 30th of July. And I'm assuming that you never had the engine steam cleaned before you went on your vacation.
Correct.
And where do you live?
Nevada City, California.
And where were you going?
Bodega Bay, on the coast, about 4 hours.
And on what day were you going there?
Around September 17th was my wife's birthday.
So you drove the car the entire month of August?
Yes.
And had no issue?
Correct.
Did you notice any more leakage from the oil in your garage?
I did not.
So for the entire month of August and half a month of September, there was no additional leakage from anywhere that was visible to you?
Correct.
And for at least a month before that, you had seen leaks in the garage from oil from the car. That's what you testified to.
Talking tiny, occasional drops.
Okay, so now September 17th, you're celebrating your wife's birthday. You're taking the car on a 4-hour drive. Did you reach your destination?
We did.
Now you can tell me what happened with the car. Company gives you a warranty.
And you read them?
Listen, I know what paragraph 9, subsection 6 of my separation agreement from my first husband says. So don't ask me if I read them.
Joseph Zellmer claims auto technician Richard Neff caused engine damage after Richard changed his oil.
Okay, so now September 17th, you're celebrating your wife's birthday. You're taking the car on a 4-hour drive. Did you reach your destination?
We did.
Now you can tell me what happened with the car.
We made it 3 or so hours and about an hour from home, heading up Highway 70 north. Lights came on and the car basically ground to a halt. It wasn't quick. I would say it was over about a half mile. It just lost power, lost juice. We were able to get up to the top of an exit, pulled over, stopped, called BMW. They said, you need to have it towed.
So this is generally what you want. You spent $175 with the defendant to change an oil filter, change the oil, check a leak. And this is what I'm getting so far from the facts from you. The entire month of August, there were no issues with the car. On the 17th of September, you were a good husband. You made arrangements to take your wife for her birthday to a lovely inn. It was a 4-hour drive in each direction. There were no issues that you saw with the car while you were there. About an hour away from your home, which would be after at least 7 hours of highway driving, the car collapsed. And you want $10,000 from the defendant. That's what you're suing him for. Now, do you understand why you're in trouble?
Well,
you understand why? You understand why you're in a little bit of trouble, sir.
That's why the trouble started.
Yeah. But it's my understanding from reading your papers that you have a witness. But before I get to your witness, sir, did you have the car towed back to CarMax?
No.
Where did you have the car towed to?
The BMW dealership in Roseville, California.
Did you call CarMax?
I definitely contacted CarMax as soon as the car broke down and I knew I was facing, at first I was told, a $7,000 bill.
And you're a smart gentleman. You contacted CarMax because it was your belief that they were responsible under their warranty.
I hadn't read their warranty yet, but I sure hope so.
Well, you should have. You're a lawyer, are you not?
Yes, I am.
Just a second. Yes, you are a lawyer.
Yes.
And yes, you have a warranty. And yes, you should have read it before so that you know what it's covered. I mean, when I buy a car, you know, the company gives you a warranty.
And you read them?
Just a second. Do I read them? Listen, I know what paragraph 9, subsection 6 of my separation agreement from my first husband says.
Okay.
So don't ask me if I read them. I read them. So, yes, well, you're paying extra for something for $2,500. The answer is, I would have read it before. But to me, the issue was not with this gentleman who did a $175 oil change, but with CarMax, who sold you a car for $30,000, charged you $2,500 for a warranty, but you had no warranty from him. You had a warranty from CarMax, the people that sold you the car, and the people that sent you to the defendant. And the defendant said to you, we recommend you having the engine steam cleaned because there was residue of oil in the car, and it may be in places that I can't see. Now, you want me to call your witness? Just a second. I'm finished with the facts. So far, those are the facts. Now, would you stand up, because I understand that you allegedly are an expert mechanic. So before you testify as an expert, because you have to testify as an expert because you never saw the car. Before the oil was changed, so you never saw it with a defective oil ring previously, and I assume that you didn't see the car before it was fixed.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All correct.
All correct.
All correct. So what you're doing is you're testifying from notes.
That's correct.
Okay, so now tell me, who do you work for?
I have an independent BMW repair facility called BMW Autotech in Culver City.
How long do you know, if you know, Mr. Zellmer?
20 minutes ago.
Are you being paid for your testimony today?
I do.
You mean you are?
Yes, I have.
Yes, you are being paid for your testimony today.
I will be paid.
How much?
$400.
Now, the first time you met Mr. Zellmer was 20 minutes ago.
Correct.
When for the first time did you review the documents on which you are prepared to testify?
Yesterday.
Have you ever seen this document?
Yes, I have a copy. I saw that, review that.
Good, thank you. When you met Mr. Zellmer, or when you reviewed the documents, can you tell me, Mr. Benor, the car had engine trouble. The engine failed, is that correct?
Not correct. It didn't fail completely. Some component failed.
Okay. And in any of the items that you read, did you see who fixed the car?
Yes, I did.
Who?
Your Honor. BMW of Roseville, California.
And how much did they charge Mr. Zellmer to fix the car?
About $5,500.
I don't want an about. This is a court.
May I answer?
Yeah, sure.
5456.95.
Okay. Now, understanding that you never saw the car before, you never saw the car after, and you were testifying solely based upon what you're reading.
Correct, Your Honor.
Is what you're reading indicate to you that there was oil somewhere in the engine?
Yes.
And that oil was the proximate cause of the trouble that the car had that Mr. and Mrs. Zellmer experienced on their way home from holiday.
That's the result of the oil leak, yes.
There was oil in the engine.
Around the engine block, yes.
Is there anything that you read that you can show me that tells you how long that oil had been there?
No.
So it could have been there for a month.
Could be.
Could have been there for 2 months.
Could be.
2 months, could have been.
Yes.
There's no way of knowing. But that corroded enough of the engine for it to fail on the 19th of September.
The date.
Yeah, okay, I see it.
Open.
Now,
September 19th.
Okay.
now I want you to tell me, because I'm curious, since you just came upon this case and this information and me, I want you to show me where it is indicated that there was a current oil leak that caused this blow-up of the engine. No, don't. You have a witness, Mr. Zellmer. You can't be both a witness and a lawyer. Otherwise, you're going to have to run up here and sit in the witness chair and then run back and ask questions, which would make it look very ridiculous.
Attorney Joseph Zellmer has accused auto technician Richard Neff of using the wrong parts during an oil change, causing Joseph's engine to fail.
I want you to show me where it is indicated that there was a current oil leak that caused this blow-up of the engine. Don't say anything. Say nothing. Just point somewhere in the documents, because that's all that you can testify to. You never saw this car. No. You have a witness, Mr. Zellmer. You can't be both a witness and a lawyer. Otherwise, you're going to have to run up here and sit in the witness chair and then run back and ask questions, which would make it look very ridiculous. Show me in the documents that you read where.
On those 2 lines on the top of the BMW of Roseville statement.
I'd like to see it, please. So the line that you are referring to is leaking oil filter cap, non-BMW oil filter installed in vehicle. Cap O-ring is hard, as if it was not changed during one or more oil services. That's what you're relying on.
That's what I'm relying on.
Just a second. I just want to make sure that that's what you're relying on.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you this question. I want you to assume the following, that on July 2nd, 2019, there was visible leakage from oil. That remained for a month. The car then went in for an oil change and a change of the O-ring on July 30th. The car was used from July 30th to September 17th.
Correct.
And there was no new evidence of an oil leak. Do you understand?
Yes.
Then it was driven for at least 4 hours.
Yes.
And after being driven for 4 hours, there was no evidence of an oil leak. No light, no anything. And then it was driven back. Can you explain to me how, with an oil filter and an oil filter change, that a car, and if it was a leaky situation, there would be no evidence of that for at least a month and a half?
Okay. The engine has a quantity of 7 quarts of engine oil. If you have a small amount of oil leak and it dropped to about 5 or 6 quarts of oil, the warning light will not come on, only if it's going below that level.
I'm asking you about when you lose oil, And what you're suggesting is that the oil goes below a certain rate. Well, it doesn't go to God. The oil goes down,
Yes.
which is how Mr. Zellmer initially saw the fact that he had an oil leak in his garage.
I see.
And what I'm asking you, sir, is if the oil is still leaking, you would still see some sort of residue in the garage.
True.
For a month and a half.
True. You should see some small amount of residual on the floor.
If
the rest of the oil, if it's leaking, it could dissipate during driving, so
It
won't.
could, but it wasn't doing that kind of driving for a month and a half.
True.
So just as Mr. Zellmer saw the oil leak before it was fixed by the defendant,
Correct.
should have seen some oil leak if it was still leaking.
Depends how much you drive, because the oil leak will not leak when the engine is not running.
Okay, the answer is it depends. Now you can sit down.
Thank you.
Mr. Zellmer, you and I both know that your complaint is with CarMax. It's not with the defendant. And if you chose not to go through a mediation with them, that's your problem. They sent you to their mechanic. Your complaint is not with him. You paid $30,000 for a car and $2,500 for an insurance policy in order to fix the car. You followed their instructions to go to a particular mechanic. You did. You had the car for a month and a half. You had no issues with the car because you're a smart man. And if you had seen oil leak before you took a 4-hour drive, you would have gone back to his shop and said, I still see oil. In addition to that, the defendant, when you picked up the car, gave you instructions. He said it is recommended that you have the engine steam cleaned because I can't tell whether oil got to parts that I can't see. He said that right in the document that he gave you that you signed off on when you picked it up July 30th. You sued the wrong party, sir. Go back to it. We're done.
Court is adjourned.
The car was at BMW Roseville, which was also under the BMW warranty if he hadn't used aftermarket parts.
Was an actual aftermarket part that is the same as BMW's part number.
They said they checked it out, and they sent me to the warranty provisions that says we don't cover this.
He had called me up sometime after the time we did the work, claiming that the whole housing was leaking, not that the oil filter was leaking.
And he didn't do the work that he said he did.
I think she did a great job. I did perform the work properly.
I think one of the main takeaways from today is make sure you have proper standing in court. Make sure you're suing the right person, the person most at fault. He doesn't really seem like the proper person to sue for this amount of money.
Well, it's an interesting case. If he had proven to my satisfaction without hearsay evidence that the work that he did caused a larger problem, he may have been successful. But while he brought his expert can only report from what he read, and what he says he relied on were the 2 lines that were in there. And even if he relied on those 2 lines, he says there's no indication that there was any active oil leak. And my other takeaway, he said he didn't read the warranty. Well, it would seem to me that you should have read before you signed it and paid over $2,500. You would read what you're paying $2,500 for. It's a very, very good lesson for everybody because even lawyers don't do it. Mm-hmm. Anyway, good case.
Read the fine print.
Yes.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Chow versus Liu.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chow, what jurisdiction do you come from?
I don't understand.
What state do you come from?
Oh, California.
How long have you lived here?
I lived here all my life, 35 years.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm currently unemployed, but before that, I was in human resources.
For how long?
For 2 years.
Your complaint is a simple one. You felt, according to you, the need to have a firearm for protection.
That's correct.
Was this the first time you had felt the need for a firearm?
Yes, Your Honor. Especially during earlier this year and last year, due to Asian hate crimes, I felt like not safe to the point. I didn't know if they were going to rob me at my car or if they were going to burglarize my house. So I felt the need.
What kind of premises do you live in?
I live in our apartment complex.
Had you in the past been threatened?
No, only.
No.
No.
The defendant owns a gun shop.
Yes, Your Honor.
In California.
Correct.
How long have you owned that shop, Mr. Liu?
6 years.
Is it close by to where you live?
Correct.
You went to Mr. Liu's shop to purchase a gun. What kind of a gun did you want?
I tried to purchase a handgun, which is a 9mm.
You wanted a 9mm gun. Had you had any training with a gun? And you had never applied for a gun permit before?
Correct.
But according to what I read in your complaint, 13 years ago, while you were in your 20s,
correct,
early 20s, you had had either an arrest or a conviction for something. Was it gun-related?
No, Your Honor.
Did you ever go to prison?
No, I wouldn't say prison. I went to another form of imprisonment. I forgot, it was like county. I'm not too sure. It was to a point where everyone that committed a crime was like together in a grouping of a household.
Like a halfway house?
Somewhat like that.
Could you leave the house?
No, you only can leave to do your work premises that was supervised by the
off premises or
yes,
on
off premises?
Off premises.
Correct.
Okay. Was that part of your sentence? Was that your sentence?
No, that was just a part of just earning good time so I could be released early.
So you were never in prison?
Not in prison in that sense to the point where I was locked down like 24/7 or anything of that nature, no.
Okay, and how long did you have to remain in that kind of facility?
I only stayed there close to 3 months, and then I was released.
Was it a drug-related crime?
No.
Since that time, 13 years ago, have you ever been arrested again?
No.
Was that the first time you had been arrested?
Correct.
So that was the first and only time you...
The first and only time as a young adult, yes. Prior to that, during my younger years, of course, I was hanging around the wrong crowd because I lived originally from Oakland, California. It's a really rough neighborhood during that time. I associated myself with the wrong crowd, which from there...
So you were arrested as a juvenile?
Yes, correct.
And this was the first arrest and conviction as an adult?
Correct.
What date did you go in to seek to purchase a weapon?
It was on May 21st of 2021.
And as part of that process, you have to fill out paperwork?
Yes.
Would you explain the paperwork process to me, Mr. Liu?
Okay, for California resident, if you need to buy a firearm, first of all, you have to take a firearm safety certificate test, which is...
Okay. Did he have that test?
Yes.
So you had a certificate to show him?
Correct.
So you had taken some training?
No, I took it that same very day because initially that's what he was part of the process of purchasing a firearm.
So where did you go to take the test?
At the same location, at his shop.
So you showed him how to use it and gave him the certificate?
I don't have to show him how to use the gun, but it's his responsibility to know how to use the firearm.
Well, what is the certificate is what I'm asking you.
The certificate contains like 30 questions, including like basic firearm laws.
No, do you have a copy of it?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have a copy of it? I'd like to see it. I'm learning something.
Something new every day.
Well, this is a dealer record of sale of firearm. What is the certificate we're talking about that he has to fill out?
The test come up with 30 questions, 10 true and false, 20 multiple choice.
Well, I'd like to see the copy of the test.
I don't have the test, Your Honor, because he didn't ask me to refund him the test.
Just a second. Sarah, can you look up test for firearm, a certificate, and that's required by the state of California?
Firearm safety certificate.
Firearm safety certificate. Just curious what it looks like. So he filled out the form. He got the certificate from you. He filled out the form in front of you. And then you have to fill out another form.
After he took the test, he passed the test.
What kind of test did he have to pass?
The firearm safety certificate.
Did you study before you went?
No, I just had knowledge of just a firearm in general. It was just a lot of common sense questions that you have in regards to California law.
I have the test.
Could I take a look at it, Sarah?
So this is a 50-page study guide for the test, and this is a self-test example of what the test is.
Thank you. You know I'm going to lose this whole thing.
No, you've got it. Just, it's touchscreen.
A safe practice when handling it. Let's say, turn to page 4. Know your target. As a safety measure, you should always be pointed to the north, to the safest possible, up and down. One of the safety rules to know is how to properly clear a malfunction. You turn to page 5.
So there's a bunch of lists of different topics that you should study for before the test, and then on this document, there's a few practice questions. The test would just be those few questions in the beginning. It would be, like he said, 20 multiple choice and 10 true false.
Thank you. Do you have any evidence that he lied on this application? That's either a yes or a no. That's
yes.
not a well.
In California, if you're convicted with a felony, it's for life that you cannot have firearm.
Oh.
Yunta Chow claims gun shop owner David Liu owes him a refund after purchasing a gun he never received.
Okay, just curious, Mr. Chow. Did you fill out the answers to these questions?
Yes, I did.
Did the defendant help you?
No.
How long did it take you to fill out the form?
It took about like maybe 20 minutes or so.
And after you filled out that form, then there is this
Correct.
document, because he has to be approved by the Department of Justice, is that right?
Honor.
Okay, well, this is the purchaser's record of sale of firearm, and it says, has the purchaser ever been convicted of a felony or an offense as defined in the Penal Code in the last 10 years? Based upon Mr. Chow, his conviction was 13 years ago, is that right? So he answered the question, no. And you purchased the gun.
Correct.
But you did not give him the gun until after you got an approval from the Department of Justice.
Correct.
And so that was May 21st.
Correct.
How long did Mr. Liu, based upon your business of experience of 6 years, does it usually take to hear back from the Department of Justice?
Usually it would take about 2 to 4 days, depends on how busy they are, to get back to me.
Okay. And this
Only
is
when they get denied, reject, or some other reason. Otherwise, after 10 days, the owner can come and pick up the firearm. So you have at least 10 days for the Department of Justice to do the background check.
Okay.
Yep. And during the pandemic, sometimes delayed it to 14 days.
Of course.
But if the purchaser is denied, reject, or something, usually that will come electronically,
okay.
Much faster.
In Mr. Chow's case, did you receive notification from the Department of Justice?
Yes.
Okay. He came and he paid you for the gun. How much did you pay him for the gun?
I paid with tax and other fees. In total, it will be $1,370. I have the invoice here as well, too.
Okay. He doesn't dispute the amount. And when you heard back from the Department of Justice, on what date did you hear from the Department of Justice?
I got the notice on May 28th.
And do you have a copy of that notice?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please.
And this is the electronic version, and also the denied.
Thank you. Okay, so you were advised on the 28th, a week later, that the Department of Justice had said, do not release the firearm to the purchaser.
Correct.
When did you notify the plaintiff?
On the same day. I sent him a text message.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you ask why?
No, I just essentially went directly to a refund from that point on. I didn't ask why as of yet.
Okay, so from the May 28th on, you knew that you could not release the firearm that you were holding for the plaintiff, for which you were paid $1,370.
Correct.
If we were to examine your record, sir, how many weapons did you sell that week?
Really depends.
No. Okay. If we were to examine your records from the 25th, 26th, 27th, those 3 days, how many guns would you say you sold? How many a day do you sell?
Well, during the pandemic, it's crazy. I can sell maybe 20 guns a day.
And you hold them?
Correct.
Until you get notification?
Correct.
Now, this is the case. You were denied for that. You will have to take that up with the Department of Justice, if you wish. Your case is simple. You have the gun. You know you can't sell it to him. And you have his $1,370. Now, I would like you to explain to me, sir, why you think he's not entitled to his $1,370 back. And explain to this face, very slowly,
Yes.
why somebody who has been in business thinks that for holding on to this gun for 5 days, when he did not lie in his application, because according to this, his conviction was 13 years ago. So unless you have information to the contrary, which I will see, because certainly if he lied on the application, I might feel a little bit sympathetic if you said I could have sold the gun 10 times over, but I held it because he lied on the application. So first, do you have any evidence that he lied on this application? That's either a yes or a no. That's not a well. Yes. What is that evidence?
Because on the FSC, the Firearm Safety Certificate test, there's one question. In California, if you're convicted with a felony, it's for life that you cannot have firearm.
Oh. See if you can find that. But that's not the application that you sent to the Department of Justice.
Yes, and also there's a form he has to fill out for their...
just a second, but he wasn't denied from the state of California.
He also filled out the form 4473 for the federal government.
Can I see it?
And there's the same question he say no.
May I see it? This is from the U.S. Department of Justice. Did you fill this out, sir?
I think I did. I'm not too sure because I did not receive a copy. The only copy I received was that...
Well, it looks like you filled it out. This is a sort of ambiguous question. It says, have you ever been convicted in any court, including a military court, of a felony or any other crime for which the judge could have imprisoned you for more than 1 year, even if you received a shorter sentence, including probation?
So it is unlawful for any person who's been convicted of or has an outstanding warrant for any felony, as well as there's a list of specific misdemeanors that also prohibit the ownership of a firearm.
Okay. So what your statement is, this application was accurate, and what you indicate is that this application, which goes to the U.S. Department of Justice, he said he had not been, when in fact he had been.
Yes.
Okay. So, Kevin, would you show this to the plaintiff, please? It looks as if, sir, you filled that out.
Okay.
And it's signed by you. I verified the signature.
No, I didn't mark a no on that.
Okay, got it. Now, sir, so now he marked a no when he should have written a yes for something that happened 13 years ago, for which he was not really in a prison, according to him, sort of a halfway residence where he was able to leave, go to work, outside work, and then come back. And he spent 3 months there. According to him, you have no information to the contrary. And for the last 13 years, he has not had any subsequent convictions. Now you have to explain to me why you think he is not entitled to most, if not all, of his money back.
Okay, because in my shop, there are numerous people with felony or something, and they will try and come to buy firearm. That's why in all our contract, not only in the small print, also in the red print, we explain to them if they get denied in any way, there's no refund.
May I see it, please?
And also at the store, we have signs everywhere to tell people that...
Now, I want to see the... Okay. I'm not interested in the signs. I'm interested in something that he signed.
This is just one way
Just a second. Okay. This just says there will be no refund. It doesn't say if you're denied because of
no
something.
refund in any way.
It says no refund in any way. It says firearm has to pay in full. And then there's a crossing out. Upon any cancellation, deny, or revoke, there will be a 30% restocking fee. But that's crossed out.
Yes, because during the pandemic, all the guns are special order. They were so limited, we can't get any gun in.
Oh, yeah. That's firearm has to be paid in full.
That's why we have the red print.
And it's crossed out, crossed out upon any cancellation, deny, or revoke, there will be a 30% restocking fee. That's crossed out.
That's crossed out before he signed
all
it.
firearms are special order. Well, that's not particularly so in this case. It was not a special order. You had it in the shop.
It was a special order.
No. Mr. Liu, did you resell the gun? I want you to think very carefully. It's got a serial number on it.
Yes.
Just a second. It's got a serial number on it, so it's easy to check.
Junta Chow has accused gun shop owner David Liu of refusing to refund him for a gun he never received.
Okay. Did you come back more than once, sir?
No.
Okay. So that the gun that he showed you he had in the store.
Correct. He had.
And that is the gun that you purchased.
That is correct.
And that is the gun that you paid for. Did you ask him to modify the gun in any way?
No, I did not.
Did you modify the gun?
No, we cannot do that. We cannot do that.
Okay, so the gun that you showed Mr. Chow was the gun that he selected. It was not modified in any way. You were holding it pending receipt of this. This came back. He could not purchase the gun. At most, if you hadn't crossed out this section, you would have been entitled to a 30% restocking fee for the gun, but you crossed it out. It's crossed out of your contract. So, Mr. Liu, he's entitled to his money back. Did you resell the gun? I want you to think very carefully. It's got a serial number on it.
Yes.
Just a second. It's got a serial number on it, so it's easy to check.
Yes, I'm being
Did you
honest to you.
Of
Yes.
course. Did you resell the gun?
Yes.
Yes. And how much did you resell the gun for?
I have to check because the prices was vary because during the
Okay,
pandemic.
just a second. So it was up and down.
Yes.
Some people paid a little more and some people paid a little less.
Right.
So you actually got paid twice for this gun.
Yes.
How much did you pay for the gun?
With add on everything.
No, don't add on anything. Just tell me, how much did you pay for the gun, your cost?
Your Honor, because the gun during the pandemic is so different.
I just asked you, sir.
Distributor make me to buy other things to go with the gun.
No,
so
listen to me.
Yes.
Mr. Liu, I'm a very simple girl, born and raised in Brooklyn, and I'm really not good in math. It's a gene, this math gene is a gene, unfortunately, that I passed on to my children, and they passed on to their children. So I want to ask you a question that's very simple. You sold him this gun for $1,370. You sold it again for around the same price. Let's say you sold it for $1,200. So now we have $2,500 that you have for this gun. I want to know how much you paid for it. You don't have to give me the exact amount. Sarah can look it up.
$600. I paid close to $600.
Close to $600.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty substantial amount of profit that you made on that one gun. Even if you sold it to somebody else for $1,200, you would have had a pretty substantial profit on that gun. So you're going to give Mr. Chow his money back because he deserves it back. And you resold the gun and you had no damages from the fact that none whatsoever. It's not as if you got stuck with the gun. And the contract can actually be interpreted in his favor. And I think a reasonable person, and that would be me, because I'm a very reasonable person. Am I a reasonable person, Whitney? Very reasonable. See, Whitney thinks I'm a reasonable person. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,370. We're finished. Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
If there's a convicted felon, he should never even step into a gun shop.
I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. My friend called me up to go pick him up, and because of that, I was convicted.
And he went to a gun shop, tried to buy a gun.
I didn't do research till after I was denied a refund. That's when I actually went through the extensive search of like the history of owning a firearm.
And I'm surprised he will come to gun shop and try to buy a gun.
I'm ecstatic actually for the judgment.
So I actually disagree with you on that last one. I think that people really have to read the contracts that they're signing, and they are bound by those written contracts. And I understand that you interpreted it in a certain way, and that's how you made your decision to give him his refund. But I think that if courts continue to do that and continue to bail people out after they don't read things that they're signing that have legal significance, I think the courts are going to be bogged down with people looking for refunds when they signed something that they were bound by, saying they don't get one.
Okay, it's a perspective. I felt comfortable with giving him his money back because there was a condition precedent upon which he could take possession of the gun. And the condition precedent was approval by the Department of Justice. He couldn't actually take possession of the property. Now, I can understand that if you got possession of the gun, you took it home, you said, you know what, this is too hard. I tried to shoot it, I couldn't shoot it. I want to take it back. Well, I can understand that, no refund. You You know, it's like wearing a dress and putting the tag inside, which I've never done, and then bringing it back the next day. But I know people who do that, so that's why it says no refunds. But in this case, the condition precedent, which was getting approval, could not be realized. And I don't think it was through any
fault of the plaintiff.
Because that section that discussed a felony where you could have been in prison for more than 1 year, well, you don't remember if you've been convicted of one felony as an adult in your whole life, whether a judge could have sentenced you for more than a year, but sentenced you to only 3 months in a different kind of facility, in a halfway house. So I don't think that he was trying to obfuscate the truth. I think that he tried to answer the questions honestly, and that he has not been in trouble for well over a decade. And the defendant had no loss.
Yeah, I understand that, but I also was sympathetic with the defendant speaking about in his gun shop having people who have felonies coming in constantly trying to get guns. How are you supposed to protect yourself as an owner of a shop that's trying to make money when that becomes a problem?
Absolutely right. That if you come in and you fill out the form and you're holding the form and you say, well, maybe somebody who's going to take a hiccup over at the Department of Justice when they look at my papers, maybe they'll put it through. And then you've taken that gun out of circulation. But that really wasn't the case in this case. And the defendant suffered no damage.
True.
He resold the gun, and it was really unjust for him to make 500% on his money. He made more than double on his money on the second sale.
Yeah.
So I think that it ended fairly.
No,
but I agree with you that too many people sign contracts and don't read the fine print. And then when something happens and somebody points out the fine print to them, they're surprised. So it's a good lesson.
Yeah.
You're right. You read the contract before you sign it. Take the extra 5 minutes.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Versus McCulley.
Thank you. Ms. Bonneville, in 2018, your Old English Bulldog had a litter of puppies. The defendant, who was your cousin, agreed to foster one of those puppies because you couldn't keep that dog in your home. It is your claim that he breached the contract with regard to that dog, and you're suing him for $10,000.
Yeah.
You really don't want the puppy returned. The puppy has been with him since 2018. Still lives with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So I want you to get that right out of your mind. After 3 years, I assume that you like the dog.
She's my baby.
And the dog likes him, and you really don't care about the dog. When was the last time you saw the dog? A month and year.
It would be.
Shouldn't be so long ago.
I'm sorry. It was August 2019.
Okay. If that's the case, that's a couple of years ago. And so when I say there's no way you're getting back this dog, so this is all about money. Now, when you gave Mr. McCauley this puppy, you drew up a contract with him.
Yes.
I'd like to see the contract.
I have that right here.
Just give it to me. Give it to Kevin. Kevin will give it to me.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, before we get into all of the variables about this contract, while we're doing that, Sarah, take a look at this. Was this the first time in 2018 that you had a litter of puppies?
Yes, that was my first litter ever.
You were the owner of the female dog?
Yes.
The female dog lived with you?
Yes.
So you had one dog at the time?
Yes.
Could not have two? That's either a yes or a no?
I was not able to have the second dog.
Fine, which is why you gave him the dog to foster. Don't?
Oh, sorry.
Since 2018, have you had other litters with the same dog?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many? How many
I believe
times?
it was 4 other litters.
4 since 2018?
Yes. They can breed twice a year.
You breed them twice a year?
Yes.
Just a second. I'll see the contract back. You breed this one female 2 times a year?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sarah, look up and see what's recommended for breeding. So this dog had 6 litters in 3 years.
Her last heat, I retired.
So you breed her every time she goes into season, which is twice a year.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, that's not right. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong.
The American Kennel Club states that the legal litter limit is 6 per lifetime for a bulldog, Your Honor.
And how many times a year?
I'll look it up.
Look it up. I know I've had many dogs over my lifetime and bought them from reputable breeders. I never knew a breeder that bred their dog every time they went into heat because the dog's body has to have time to nurture itself. I'm just telling you, I never knew a breeder that I bought a dog from that bred the same female dog twice a year. I just never did. Maybe I'm wrong. Sarah is going to continue her due diligence.
It just says recommended for the safety of the female dog to 3 to 4 total a year.
It's impossible. They only go into heat twice a year.
According to the American Kennel Club.
Do you have dogs anyplace else, Miss Bonneville?
I have one other female and one other male. They're both Old English Bulldogs.
So that you breed those 2 dogs together?
I don't breed them together. The male is in the same family.
Let me read this contract. So this is a clear agreement, Mr. McCauley. It says, I, Sky McCauley, will be fostering Ann Bonneville's dog, Paris, from this date forward. Ann will retain all rights, including breeding and the right to take the puppy back at any time. Ann will take care of all vet visits. Breeding will be paid by 1 pup per litter.
That was from her mother, not from the dog.
You can't explain terms of an agreement if I don't have a question about them.
Okay.
I don't have a question about this. This says breeding will be paid by 1 pup per litter. And that suggests to me that you were going to retain physical control of the dog, and the dog would be bred, and each time the dog was bred, you would get 1 puppy from that litter, either to keep or to sell. That's the plain language of this. I absolutely understand what this says, okay? So each of you claim that the arrangements in this contract were breached by the other. So let me go through them. You got the dog in 2018.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, from 2018 now to 2021, a dog like this goes to the vet at least once a year.
Yes, ma'am.
In 2018, did you take the dog Paris to the vet?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And you have that vet bill?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it.
We will just bring them all to you.
There's no question before you, sir. Just get me the vet bill.
All the vet bills.
I don't want all the vet bills.
Okay, sir.
I want the vet bills from 2018. This is Kevin's exercise. He may have to walk back and forth 2 or 3 times. Okay. That bill for Paris was $134.38. Miss Bonneville, did you pay that bill? That's either a yes or a no.
That bill was not paid by me, no.
That bill was not paid by you. Okay, so if that bill was not paid, that visit didn't take place in 2018. That visit took place in September of 2019.
We waited approximately a year for her to take the dog to a vet, and she never did.
Just a second. So that was 2019, and the plaintiff didn't pay. And at that time, in September of 2019, you hadn't bred the dog, nor had she asked for the dog back.
No, we have not bred the dog. No.
Okay. Do you acknowledge, Miss Bonneville, that in September of 2019, that the dog Paris had not been bred and you had not asked for the dog back? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes, Your Honor.
Fine. So the dog hadn't been bred and you had not asked for the dog back. Did Mr. McCauley present to you or advise you what this bill of $134.38 was when he took the dog to the vet?
He did not.
Did you advise her?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Tell me when.
I called her on the phone and told her that we took her to the vet, what the bill was, and she said that she would pay us with the next puppy that was supposed to be coming up from Princess.
She would pay you with the next puppy?
From Princess, not Paris.
Okay. Did she give you a puppy for the vet?
Sir. No, ma'am.
She did not?
No.
Now, subsequent to this, did Princess have a litter of puppies?
She did have puppies after that, yes.
And did you, in fact, give him a puppy from that litter?
That was not our agreement, and I did not. I did give him a puppy out of a prior litter. He got $900 for that, and I have a lot of communication about that in here.
Okay. Did you get a puppy from a prior litter?
I got a puppy the day I took Paris home because it was to pay for the first 6 months of her being in my property. Yep.
Of care?
Yep.
Okay. Is that correct that he got the puppy the day he took Paris home?
No, yeah.
Or within a week of that?
No, it was April following bringing Paris home.
Well, what date did he bring Paris home?
November 4th of 2018.
And when did he get a puppy?
April 6th or 7th.
Of what year?
2019.
Well, that was before this vet visit, so that was owed to him.
In the contract, Your Honor, it says I would give him a puppy out of Paris's litters, out of the dog that we were talking about.
No, it actually didn't say that.
It didn't say that.
It didn't say that.
But
it didn't say that. I am interpreting it that way. But clearly, you interpreted it some other way because before this vet bill became owed, you gave him a puppy. Now, you wouldn't have given him a puppy for which he got $900 unless you had some sort of an agreement.
We had a side agreement, Your Honor.
And what was the side agreement?
The side agreement was I would give him a puppy to help with things such as taking care of the dog. He had actually gotten a puppy long before what we agreed on.
Just a second. I understand that. I understand. Can I see in writing that he agreed to take this one puppy and take care of the dog forever and not make the dog his? I would just like to see it, because right now you've breached the contract by not paying a vet bill. So what I want to see is where you modified the agreement in April of 2019, that the one puppy that you gave him modified this agreement so that you were no longer responsible for any bills for the dog. Do you understand my question? And if you want it repeated, Whitney is going to repeat it for you. Do you want it repeated?
Yes, please.
Whitney, you want to read that back to the plaintiff, please?
Question. So what I want to see is where you modify the agreement in April of 2019. The one puppy that you gave him in 2019 modified this agreement so that you were no longer responsible for any bills for the dog.
I'm not saying that I wasn't going to give him any more puppies.
Now, we're not talking about puppies, we're talking about money.
Or money. I
money.
actually handed him.
It says that you would take care of the vet visits. He had a discussion with you about paying the vet bill, and you declined.
I had set up an appointment at my vet.
I don't care about that.
And
you have to understand, I don't care about your vet. This contract doesn't say he has to take the dog to your vet.
And later today.
So you were raised by your grandparents, you always lived there, you didn't move out until 2011.
Yeah.
So their loss was hardest on you.
Yes.
I got it. Now I'm creating a family picture.
Anne Bonneville claims her cousin, Sky McCauley, owes her for the value of a puppy. Sky is countersuing for breach of contract.
It says that you would take care of the vet visits.
So I gave him this puppy in
April.
lieu of that. I sold the puppy and gave him the cash.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, breeding dogs like this is more of a puppy factory than the care that you take in breeding dogs and not using them for money. Since 2019, have you given Mr. McCauley any money for vet bills? He's going to show me the rest of the vet bills.
No.
The answer is either yes or no.
No.
Has he asked you for any money?
Guy has not talked to me since October.
Of what year?
2019.
Okay. Did you tell her that you took the dog to the vet
Yes,
again?
ma'am. That was the last time I talked to her.
That was the last time you talked to her?
I have not talked to her in almost 3 years.
And why is that?
I don't associate myself with people like her.
So I'm going to take this contract and disregard it because it sounds to me as if you knew as a pet breeder that animals have to be seen every year by a vet. He did say he told you about the first visit to the vet.
I had set up an appointment at my vet.
I don't care about that.
And
you have to understand, I don't care about your vet. This contract doesn't say he has to take the dog to your vet. This contract says you will pay the vet bills. Your claim is dismissed. Now we're getting to the counterclaim. Money losses resulting from a broken contract. Well, you have the dog, right?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Very good. Okay, actual and punitive damage resulting from defamation of character. Now we're going to hear about that, defamation of character.
So first up, Your Honor, she went on Facebook, and does anyone know if a guy named Sky McCully is here selling OEB bulldogs? The mom is a dog he stole from me, which then I had people contacting me. Her coworker sent us to this saying, hey, you might want to look at this. It might be interesting. Her coworker seen it, and then we got posted on 9 different other websites.
Does anyone know if a guy named Skull McCauley is in here selling puppies? Would that be 2019?
That was this year.
This year?
I thought he was breeding my dog without communicating anything with me.
That's okay. I don't think, Ms. Bonneville, that there's anything wrong with you asking the question, does anyone know if a guy named Sky McCauley is in here selling EOB puppies? The mom is a dog he stole from me, so you're calling him a thief, which is calling him a criminal. That you can't say. That's defaming him. Okay, this is the way I'm going to rule. Plaintiff breached the contract first by not paying the vet bill, so she gets nothing. And you have Paris.
Yes, ma'am.
And Paris had puppies.
Never. Paris has been spaded.
The fact that he's had the dog spayed suggests to me that he's not going to breed the dog, and the dog is going to be a family pet, probably considering your breeding program is a blessing. However, even though she should not have used the word stole my dog, which is exactly what happened, you have other things you want to show?
Yes, Your Honor. She went around town posting my copy of my address as well as the contract on vets' doors and telling them not to see any of my animals.
Okay. Well, we are going to give you an order today that indicates that Paris is your dog.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Your counterclaim's dismissed. Everybody's happy. Except me. Thank you.
I believe that it was absolutely unfair and unjust.
She's an abusive, neglectful breeder.
Everything he said is a falsification, and he got away with it.
You know what that's an example of, Sarah? Even judges bring pieces of themselves to a case. We don't come with a clean slate. We come with certain feelings and emotions about things that are sensitive to. And I'm one of those people who were really sensitive about puppy mills. And they both got what they deserved, and I hope that he got what he wanted, because clearly he wasn't going to use this dog as a breeding tool for money. That's a very tough case. It makes me sad for all those animals that are bred in cages. Very sad.